Amigos de Noticias de hoy, tengan muy buenas tardes y bueno, con este video finalizamos la secuencia del día de reacciones. Tenía 3 videos que quería hacer las reacciones y pues este es el tercero, que son las órdenes ejecutivas, las últimas y nuevas órdenes ejecutivas firmadas por Donald Trump el día de ayer. Vamos a echarle un vistazo y a ver qué ha firmado el
For your
presidente.
signature, 5 official designations of special envoys. The first is Mr. Steve Witkoff, who's actually in the room to be your Middle East envoy.
Los subtítulos están completamente fuera de sincronía con lo que dicen, súper retrasados.
Where is Steve?
Ah, no. Más o menos.
Steve Witkoff, everybody. He's done a great job in the Middle East. Really great. But we'll see how it all turns out. It's complex. But I think
Sin duda es un tema complicado.
Next we have Mauricio
Al menos es una mejor idea que enviar a su yerno, ¿verdad?
Claver Carón to be your special envoy to Latin America, sir.
Mauricio Claver Carón era el que Trump impulsó para presidente del Fondo Monetario Internacional, el FMI.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next we have retired General Keith Kellogg to be your special envoy on Russian-Ukraine issues.
We've made a lot of progress on Russia, Ukraine. We'll see what happens.
Hicieron mucho progreso, genial. ¿Que acabó la guerra o sigue?
But a lot of progress has been made.
Okay.
We're going to stop that ridiculous war. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have designation of Rick Grinnell, to be your envoy for special missions.
I sent him to California to turn on the water. We turned it on. It was not easy because we had to go through a lot of environmentalists that are causing a lot of problems. And we have billions of gallons of water. It was on 3 days ago. You probably saw. It should have gotten a lot of press, but it didn't get much. All we're doing is giving Los Angeles and the entire state of California virtually unlimited water, which they could have done 5 years ago, which I told them they should do, but the environmentalists stopped them. And we opened it, and we did it regardless of the state. And now the state seems to be very happy. I spoke with Gavin Newsom, and he's very happy. I almost called him by the other name, didn't I? My little nickname for him. But I think they're all happy. They have a lot of water in California. Too bad we didn't have it about 2 months ago, right? That was, by the way, that was a big move. We have, I don't know if you saw the pictures that were released of the water pouring down from the Pacific Northwest and Canada and lots of other places. And it's a pretty amazing sight.
Mr. President, Rick Grinnell had a big Friday trip as well.
He had a very big Friday trip, you're right. We'll talk about that. He's a good man, Rick.
Lastly, sir, we have a designation of Mark Burnett as your special envoy to the United Kingdom.
You know who Mark Burnett is?
No, remember.
He should be good. He's certainly done a great job. Friend of mine and very talented.
Mark Burnett?
We have
No me
very
suena.
talented people working for us. I'll hold that one up because Mark gets so much television. We'll hold it up, right? He'll be thrilled to see it. He's going to do a good job.
Thank you, sir. Next, your administration has smashed records for appointing large numbers of highly qualified, capable people at all levels of the federal government. These are 28 sub-cabinet level officials being appointed to a number of different departments and agencies. Some of them are quite important positions like departmental general counsels, but these are people who have been pre-vetted and have received your...
Yo creo que el gobierno de Donald Trump va aumentar los impuestos solo para pagar la cantidad de esos libritos que anda firmando, porque demonios a ver, ¿en cuánto tiempo de presidencia de Trump tenemos? Tenemos creo que 15 días de presidencia de Trump. Creo que ya van como 4 veces que se detiene a firmar órdenes ejecutivas y cada vez que se detiene a firmarlos son cantidades, un montón. Están gastando mucho dinero con esos libritos, sin duda alguna. A lo mejor su tinta se borra, tienen como 20 libros diferentes que los reusan una y otra vez porque de diablos todo el tiempo.
Previously.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, this is an executive order. Discharges your Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and your Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, to begin a process that will hopefully result in the creation of an American sovereign wealth fund.
It's a very exciting event. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, which we've never had. We have a lot of things that create wealth, and you're seeing that over the last 2 weeks. I think we've created more wealth. Other people have created de-wealth. The people, my predecessors, we're creating a lot of wealth.
No se la aguanta.
Scott, maybe you'd like to say something about it, and I'd ask also Howard to say something about it.
Yes, sir. This is very exciting. We're going to stand this thing up within the next 12 months. We're going to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet for the American people. We're going to put the assets to work. And I think it's going to be very exciting. We're going to study best practices that's done around the world. It'll be a combination of liquid assets, assets that we have in this country as we work to bring them out for the American people.
Para que le vean la cara al tipo.
The extraordinary size and scale of the U.S. government and the business it does with companies should create value for American citizens. If we are going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, maybe we should have some warrants and some equity in these companies and have that grow for the help of the American people. So I bring all these things together. I think Scott and I will create an amazing sovereign wealth fund for you, sir.
So other countries have sovereign wealth funds, and they're much smaller countries, and they're not the United States. We have tremendous potential in this country, tremendous. You're seeing that, what's happened just in a short period of time.
¿Ves Estados Unidos? Esto es un buen paso, diría yo. Sigan así y lograrán ser de verdad primer mundo. Sigan así.
And as an example, TikTok, we're going to be doing something perhaps with TikTok, and perhaps not. If we make the right deal, we'll do it. Otherwise, we won't. But I have the right to do that, and we might put that in the sovereign wealth fund, whatever we make, or if we do a partnership with
Este hombre no para con las amenazas, ¿eh?
very wealthy people. A lot of options, but we could put that as an example in the fund, and we have a lot of other things that we could put in the fund. And I think in a short period of time, we'd have one of the biggest funds. And you know, some of them are pretty large. I must tell you, some of like the Saudi Arabia fund is on the large side, but eventually we'll catch it. But we're going to create a lot of wealth for the fund, and I think it's about time that this country had a sovereign wealth fund. And these two gentlemen and some others are going to work with them very closely, and they'll be heading it up, and they're going to do a great job. Two highly respected people that have done unbelievably well in the world, in the real world. So that's a big deal, huh?
Yes, sir. I think
That's
it's
a big deal, huh?
And be of great strategic importance.
Mr. President, why is it important for Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no
Por fin toca ahí la cuestión de Elon Musk y el tesoro de Estados Unidos.
good if we agree with him, and it's only if we agree with him. He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs, and we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers. Some of the numbers are horrible, what he's found. Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas. Condoms to Hamas.
Todos sabemos que eso es una mentira, pero ahora son $100 millones en condones para Hamas. La anterior vez que habló de este tema eran 50, ya han duplicado.
And many other things that are frankly even more ridiculous. And they're finding tremendous waste, really waste more than anything else, I think you could say. Probably fraud and abuse can be added to it, the more standard waste, fraud, and abuse. but they're finding tremendous amounts of really bad things, bad spending. You've been writing about some of it, frankly, and some of the things that they've been doing is just terrible. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about, and I'm impressed because he's running, obviously, a big company. It has nothing to do, if there's a conflict, that we won't let him get near it. But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it. But he has some very good ideas, and we have a lot of very other talented people also. We're bringing in the most talented people in the world. By the way, we just unrelated, but we have two of the most talented people in the world, the legendary Rupert Murdoch and Larry Ellison. So they are two legends in business, publishing, and probably every other. Rupert is Larry pretty much in a class by himself, right? I mean, although you may have a couple of bucks more, I don't know, but Rupert is in a class by himself. He's an amazing guy, and Larry is Larry. Larry's one of the most serious players anywhere in the world. So it's an honor to have you. This has nothing to do with you people, but they're here, and I thought it would be appropriate. I'm sure you didn't recognize them. If you're all going crazy, they say, what are
Ok. Tienen a Rupert Murdoch y a Larry, no capté el apellido del otro. Dime si eso no te huele a una oligarquía. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Rupert Murdoch. Oligarquía.
What are they doing here?
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, on the tariffs, is there any chance that Canada or China could also get out of the tariffs after you struck a deal with Mexico?
Well, nobody's out with Mexico. We had a great talk with Mexico, and we had President Sheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much. We've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens from coming in. I think we've lost 200,000 people on average a year for many years, much higher than the 100,000, could be even closer to 300,000. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to do. Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. But we have a very good relationship. I also spoke with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, and we had a good talk in the morning, but I did ask him a couple of questions, like, you know, banks aren't allowed to do business in Canada. Canada is very tough. Canada is very, you know, we're not treated well by Canada, and we have to be treated well. Banks are not, as an example, allowed. Did you know that? That banks, American banks, are not allowed to do business in Canada. Can you believe that? And that's one of many things, and we talked about it, and I think we'll win most of the subjects. But for some reason, a lot of things have been very unfair with Canada. I noticed that in the first term. You deal with people, and after a while you begin to realize, like you learn that Larry Ellison's very tough to do business with, okay? He's a very tough guy. I mean, I'm sure you're shocked to hear that. But Canada is very tough. They're very, very tough to do business with. And we can't let them take advantage of the U.S. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part. They don't take our cars. They make cars, but they basically don't take our cars. And, you know, we don't need, and look, I think we're going to have another good conversation today. We're actually speaking at 3 o'clock again. But we don't need them to make our cars. We don't need them to give us lumber. We don't need them for agricultural products because we have all the agriculture we need. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part, our milk and dairy, etc.
Lo que tienen en relación a agricultura, recuerden quién hace el trabajo, de quién es la mano de obra. Los inmigrantes. ¿Los quieres deportar? Sin ellos ni siquiera vas a poder abastecer a tu propia gente, Trump. Cuidado.
A little bit they do, but not much. We take theirs. And as far as cars are concerned, they took in a big percentage, almost 19% of the market. And, you know, I wouldn't mind making our cars in the United States, so we have a problem there. I'd like to make our cars in the U.S. We don't need Canada to make our cars. With that being said, we're going to have another call at 3 o'clock. We had a call this morning. It was a pretty good call, I'd say. So the call with Mexico went very well in the sense that they're very strong now on the border. They're going to put soldiers there. So, actually, they're best military soldiers, and they're going to be at the border, 10,000. That's a lot of soldiers. And they want to protect it also. You know, they don't want people running through Mexico, coming through Mexico to come into our country. So they're going to do that. And then we're going to talk about other things over the next 30 days, we're going to have Scott, Howard, and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, lead the delegation. And we're going to have a big negotiation with Mexico. I'll be involved too, and President Sheinbaum will be involved to see whether or not we can work something out on the tariffs.
What about fentanyl in China?
China will be speaking to China probably over the next 24 hours.
On fentanyl in China, President Trump?
We don't want fentanyl coming into our country. Now, we had another big thing, speaking of China. China's involved with the Panama Canal. They won't be for long. And that's the way it has to be. Marco just got back, as you know. He's in the process of coming back. I guess he's almost back by now. And he had a very long conversation with the leader of Panama, the respected man, and some others, the entire leadership group. And we're trying to work a deal on the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal was given foolishly years ago it shouldn't have been happened, years ago to Panama by Jimmy Carter and the group. We lost 38,000 people building the Panama Canal, like one of the great wonders of the world. It's the biggest job we've ever built, the biggest project we've ever built in this country, dollar-wise and every other way. 38,000 people died, Americans, all men, just about, laborers and construction people. They went to Panama. The mosquito got them. Between mosquito and snakes, we lost 38,000 people. It was the most expensive project ever built by the United States. The biggest, most expensive project we ever built 110 years ago. If you bring...
Algo que me causa bastante gracia de Donald Trump es que notan cómo siempre sus discursos, sus presentaciones, es bien segmentado y los mismos segmentos utiliza en varias presentaciones. Por eso queda en la psique de sus fans lo que él dice, porque lo repite una y otra vez. Empecemos ahora. Hablar sobre los condones para jamás. Ya lo había dicho, repite casi la misma historia. Hablar de Panamá, ya lo había dicho, repite casi la misma historia. Hablar de México y Canadá, ya lo había dicho, repite la misma historia. Y sin motivo, le pueden preguntar sobre un asunto A, B, C, lo que sea. Él siempre trae esos temas de vuelta, siempre los trae al momento. Lo relaciona a todo, lo vincula a todo. Y siempre está hablando de eso. Así que sus fans, sus seguidores siempre quedan con eso en la cabeza.
Bring it up to now would have been the equivalent of $2 trillion. The most expensive we ever built, and we gave it away for $1, okay? We gave it away essentially for nothing. And we either want it back or we're going to get something very strong or we're going to take it back. And China
amenazas
will be dealt with. And we didn't give that to China, we gave it to Panama. We shouldn't have given it to Panama, but Panama...
Pero ya lo dieron. Hubo un tratado, un acuerdo y se realizó, se entregó, no importa, ya lo hicieron. ¿Crees que vas a quedar como el bueno de la historia? No. Solo quedas como otro villano bravucón. Solo quedas como un Putin.
As you know, has violated the agreement, totally violated the agreement. So that's in the process right now, but they did have a very good meeting with the head of Panama.
In addition to tariffs on China, can you say your current thinking about whether China should be forced to pay reparations both for fentanyl deaths and the million COVID?
No, I haven't talked about that, but they do have tariffs. Honestly, nobody, the amount of money that was lost and most importantly, the lives lost because of COVID is not something that anybody could ever even imagine. It's probably $60 trillion, and all the countries in the world don't have $60 trillion. The amount of death and the amount of destruction and the amount of money lost is probably $60 trillion. I had it figured by people about 3 months ago. It just said, figure it out. Nobody knows what the real number is, but it's almost an infinite number. The damage done, but I have not discussed that. What I have discussed is we'll have some good meetings with China. We have meetings planned, and we'll see what happens. But that was just an opening salvo. If we can't make a deal with China, then the tariffs will be very, very substantial. Okay, I'm going to sign this one.
Sir, this is, you've obviously made making America healthy again a key priority of this administration. A key component of that is obviously heart health. This is a ceremonial proclamation declaring the month of February to be National Heart Month.
Okay. I hear we're doing very well with nominations. We'll see, but it looks like we're doing very well with nominations.
Mr. President, have you been involved with calling senators who had some concerns about Tulsi Gabbard or
Yes.
RFK?
Yeah, I've gotten great response. And they want to do what's right, and we've had a good response. I think we'll do well. We have great people like this. We have great people coming in. I think I'd like to say the best ever recruited for government. I think we have the finest people ever recruited for government.
Will it take an act of Congress?
Probablemente en algunos meses van a empezar los despidos y no, eran terribles, eran malos, no sé qué. Así fue con su anterior administración, eran los mejores del mundo siempre, hasta que empezaron los problemas y no, todos eran terribles.
And you know what? You're starting to see that because we've done more in 2 weeks than Biden's done in 5 years, 6 years. They could be here between him and Obama. You add it up, okay? We've done more in 2 weeks than they've done in 12 years.
Will it take an act of Congress to do away with USAID, or do you believe you have?
I don't know. I don't think so. No, we've not when it comes to fraud. If there's fraud, these people.
Sus comparaciones son absolutamente salvajes, ¿no? Han hecho más en 2 semanas que Biden en 5 o 6 años. Oh, me olvidé que solo tuvo 4 años de presidencia. 12 años, incluyendo Obama.
People are lunatics, and if it comes to fraud, you wouldn't have an active Congress, and I'm not sure that you would anyway. But we just want to do the right thing. It's something that should have been done a long time ago. It went crazy during the Biden administration. They went totally crazy, what they were doing, and the money they were giving to people that shouldn't be getting it, and to agencies and others that shouldn't be getting it. It was a shame. So they're tremendous fraud. But we'll be doing a report. We'll be giving you that report at the appropriate time.
Yeah. In the first term, though, USAID was something that you liked in some respects.
I love the concept of it. Sure. I love the concept, but they turn out to be radical left lunatics. And the concept of it is good, but it's all about the people.
Mr. President, you said you also want to impose tariffs on the EU. What kind of tariffs are you thinking about?
Well, we have massive deficits with the European Union, massive, like $350 billion, if you can believe it. They don't take our farm product. They don't take our cars. They don't take almost anything, but we take their cars. We have millions of cars coming in, BMW and Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen and just so many different cars, and we don't do anything about that, and we don't charge them tariffs. They make it impossible to sell cars in the European Union. They make it very difficult, agricultural product. They actually don't take it, and they have a lot of excuses. Some of them are the pesticides and the different chemicals used, and Bobby Kennedy actually is looking at that very, very seriously.
Por fin lo mencionan. Yo pensé que siempre se iba a cerrar los ojos y negar la existencia de ese problema con los productos agrícolas americanos. Lo mencionó al menos, algo es algo.
because maybe it's not necessary to use all of that. You know, we want to be the healthiest country, and we're not. We spend more money on food than anybody else in terms of its creation, but we're not the healthiest country. So maybe there is something to the fact that we shouldn't be using so much chemical, and maybe that'll stop. But Bobby Kennedy is the one, because he is not a believer in all of the things we have done, and neither are the Europeans. So we'll see what happens. But they use it as an excuse not to buy our product. And I asked a couple of the leaders, I don't want to use names, but how many Chevrolets or Fords do you see in the middle of Munich? And the answer is none, because they don't take any cars. They don't take anything. So the European has abused the United States for years, and they can't do that. And they want to make a deal. Let me tell you, in all cases, they all want to make deals. There's nobody that doesn't want to make deals. They've been abusers, and they want to make deals. So we'll see about that. But we'll have, I think, some very fair. All we want is a fair deal. And, you know, there's a word, reciprocal. I'd go right now, reciprocal tariffs on everybody, because many of the countries that you feel so horrible about, the way they're being treated by Trump, you're saying, oh, President Trump is so terrible to them. Well, they charge us tariffs. European Union has a VAT tax, which is through the roof, okay? It's a similar thing, similar to a tariff. It's a VAT. And they have it, and it's numbers like you wouldn't believe. And Canada, I told you about the banks, and I told you they charge us. And people don't say that. They don't like to say it. Just like they don't like to say that I opened up the water for California. It's a great thing. It's too bad they didn't do it themselves. I had to do it, and it was not easy. We did it a very rough way, and I didn't like to do it a rough way. We shouldn't have to do it a rough way. But a lot of these countries that we're talking about, you know, they're so-called allies, but they don't treat us well. And just like I got $420 billion, and now it's actually over $600 billion, the Secretary General of NATO came in 2 weeks ago, and he said it was a miracle when Trump came in, when President Trump came into NATO. He said it was $636 billion by saying to them, no, you have to pay. And if you don't pay, we're not going to be there for you. You know, somebody has to say it, and they paid. And it was a large amount of money. And one of the problems we have with the Russia-Ukraine situation is that we wanted to see some equalization, because we're in for close to $300 billion, and they're in for $200 billion less. Why are they in for less? Because Biden never asked them for money. He never said, you got to pay. He never did. All he did is hand out money. So we're talking with them right now, and we're actually working some deals right now. So we have some guarantees and some other things to keep that whole situation to go, really going. I mean, going. We're telling Ukraine they have very valuable rare earth. We want what we put up to go in terms of a guarantee. We want a guarantee. We're handing them money hand over fist. We're giving them equipment. European is not keeping up with us. They should equalize. And look, we have an ocean in between. They don't. It's more important for them than it is for us. But they're way below us in terms of money. And they should be paying at least equal. They should really be paying much more than us. But let's say equal to us. And they're billions and billions of dollars below. So we're looking to do a deal with Ukraine where they're going to secure what we're giving them with their rare earth and other things.
They had a deal with Mexico this morning. Was that?
Lo más feo que pueda sonar esto es Estados Unidos siendo Estados Unidos. Ah, Afganistán tiene petróleo. Irak tiene petróleo. Ucrania tiene tierras raras. Es ninguna sorpresa.
Partially related to the market reaction and a criticism from Mr. Murdoch's own newspaper. He called it the dumbest trade war on the editorial page on Saturday.
I'm going to have to talk to him. I've been right over the Wall Street Journal many times, I will tell you. I don't agree with him on some things. No, it's not only is it not dumb, you're going to see. Every single one of those countries is dying to make a deal. You know why? Because they're ripping us off really badly. And the United States is tired of being just being ripped off. And that's why we have $36 trillion in debt. We have it for a reason, because we make bad deals with everybody. And we don't allow that anymore. So the Wall Street Journal is wrong, because very simply, every single country that you're writing about right now is dying to make a deal, because the deals they have right now are so good and so good for them and so profitable for them. You didn't know that Canada didn't allow our banks. You didn't know all of these different things. And I think in the end, you're going to see that either very, very substantial tariffs are going to be paid by them, or they're going to make some kind of a deal.
So did Mexican President Sheinbaum?
Did what?
Did you blink this morning?
There was no blinking. No, she's a wonderful woman, but she did agree to 10,000 soldiers on the border. I would say that's a lot. Would you say that's pretty good? 10,000 soldiers on the border?
Sir,
and the 10,000 soldiers are going to keep illegal aliens out, and they're going to keep them out, seriously out, and otherwise they're going to have a big penalty. Mexico's going to be penalized. They're not going to come through Mexico anymore, and they're not going to let the fentanyl come in from China. And China hopefully is going to stop sending us fentanyl. And if they're not, the tariffs are going to go substantially higher.
Sir, just to clarify what you said about Ukraine earlier, the rare earths, is that something you want them to give the rare earths to the United States?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to have security of rare earth. We're putting in hundreds of billions of dollars. They have great rare earth, and I want security of the rare earth. And they're willing to do it.
Sir, you mentioned earlier that
on Canada, when you talk to Justin Trudeau again, is there anything he can give you at 3 p.m. when you talk again to also
I don't know.
Pause,
I don't know.
like you said, with Mexico?
I don't know. We have big deficits with Canada, like we do with all countries. I mean, I look at some of the deals made, I say, who the hell made these deals are so bad? But with Canada, I have a talk with him, and you maybe know or maybe not. We're going to meet again or talk again at 3 o'clock. Right after my next meeting, and we'll see what happens. I can't tell you what's going to happen.
You mentioned that he could agree to change your mind on the tariffs.
Well, we can always, look, what I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection.
Sabía que iba a sacar esa carta. Queremos que Canadá sea el estado número 51. O sea,
protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit or South Carolina or any one of our Tennessee, any one of our states build the cars. They could do it very easily. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. So I say, why are we doing this? Why are we willing to lose between $100 billion and $200 billion a year? We don't need them. As a state, it's different. As a state, it's much different. And there are no tariffs. So I'd love to see that, but some people say that would be a long shot. If people wanted to play the game right, it would be 100% certain that they'd become a state. But a lot of people don't like to play the game because they don't have a threshold of pain. And there would be some pain, but not a lot. The pain would be really there. So we're going to meet again by phone at 3 o'clock, and we'll let you know what
on Israel, President Trump, you're prepared to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu.
Coming in tomorrow.
Yes, you've mentioned in the past you're concerned about Israel being too small geographically. Would you support annexation of parts of the West Bank by Israel?
Well, I'm not going to talk about that. It certainly is a small...
Es un tema demasiado controversial como para que hable así de una forma tan casual. Que Israel pueda anexar partes de Gaza es tema complicado.
It's a small country in terms of land. See this pen, this wonderful pen? My desk is the Middle East. And this pen, the top of the pen, that's Israel. That's not good, right? You know, that's a pretty big difference. I use that as an analogy. It's pretty accurate, actually. It's a pretty small piece of land. And it's amazing that they've been able to do what they've been able to do when you think about it. There's a lot of good, smart brain power, but it is a very small piece of land, no question about it.
Mr. President, you said earlier that Elon Musk is doing everything with your say-so. So is there everything that he has done thus far, going to all the agencies, shutting off access, getting access to federal payments, that all has yours? You're okay with all of that?
For the most part, yeah. If we I mean, if there was something that didn't have my okay, I'd let you know about it really fast.
And you said there's some areas where you wouldn't let him work because he has conflicts of interest.
If there was a no, I haven't seen that. And he would know not to do it. So we haven't had that yet. But if there was a conflict, we would let him work in that
And
area.
earlier you said with regard to Panama that they were going to make a deal where the U.S. was going to take it. How long do they have to make that sort of deal? And are you still leaving on the table?
We're going to meet with Panama on Friday at about 3:30 in the afternoon by phone, and maybe there'll be some representatives that, here or there. But we're going to be talking to Panama on Friday, essentially. And they've agreed to certain things, but I'm not happy with it.
On the Middle East, Mr. President, if I may, do you still have doubts that the ceasefire will hold?
On what?
On the Middle East, do you think the ceasefire will hold?
I have no assurances that it'll hold. I mean, I've seen people brutalized. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. No, I have no guarantees that the peace is going to hold. Steve, you might want to say something about that. Steve Woodcock.
It's holding so far. So
It's holding so far.
We're certainly hopeful, and that's the president's direction: get the hostages out, save lives, and come to hopefully a peaceful settlement of it all. So far it's holding.
Mr. President, on a different topic, questionnaires have been going out to FBI agents across the country who were involved potentially in the investigation. Do you believe anyone involved at any level should be fired, sir?
Well, I think the FBI was a very corrupt institution, and I'm a victim of it in a true sense. I was able to beat it, but other people have been.
Y ahí está, señoras y señores, el Donald Trump, víctima del FBI. Estaba tratando de sacar esa carta. Hace tiempo que no lo escuchaba y volvió.
Treated horribly. I think the FBI had a great reputation. I think its reputation was really damaged badly, as is DOJ. Look at what they've done in terms of weaponization. Look at what they've done to a political opponent. Probably got me elected by what they did, or I think I was doing well anyway.
Tal vez.
Might have got me elected. But you know what? We have to have pristine, beautiful, perfect law enforcement. And what we want to do, and Cash is the one to do it. He's the one guy that is going to do it. We have to bring the reputation of the FBI. We have to bring the fact of the FBI back to what it could be. Not even to what it was, even better than it ever was. Because who would have thought that the FBI could have been corrupted like they were corrupted? Who would have thought that would have happened? Who would have thought they would have been used to go after, political opponents, essentially, but me being the number one, and so many other things beyond that. And they've been hurt very badly, and we'll see what happens. But Cash is the one to do it, and I hear he's doing very well. Cash will straighten it out. We have great confidence that we can make the FBI great again. Okay, one or two more and we'll be done.
Gabbard's nomination is.
Say it?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, I think Tulsi's going to be doing okay. I'm not sure. I can't guarantee anything, but she's liked by so many people, especially people in the military and law enforcement.
She has a little bit of trouble with some senators over her thoughts on Edward Snowden. I know Snowden, you've mentioned in the past you're thinking about pardoning him. Are you still, and what do you think about that?
No, I don't talk about it right now. I just, people feel very differently. Some people think he should be pardoned, and some people think it would be a terrible thing to do, but I don't get involved in that.
Mr. President, what are you discussing with Mr. Murdoch and Mr. Ellison?
Just respect. I have great respect for Rupert Murdoch. I disagree with him a lot of times with the Wall Street Journal, but that's all right. We've disagreed before, and I'm sure they didn't have any idea what they were talking about, because already you see what's happening. Look at Colombia. Look at what happened with that. Everybody said that with Colombia it was going to be a disaster. In one hour, everything was settled. You know why? Tariffs. Without tariffs, they wouldn't have been the same way. They would not have treated me the way they treated me, which was extremely nicely. And I don't want to use countries, I don't want to use names, but tariffs are very powerful, both economically and in getting everything else you want. Tariffs for us, nobody can compete with us because we're the pot of gold. But if we don't keep...
Es chantaje, así de simple. Te amenaza y si no cedes, pues te fregamos con las tarifas, lo que está diciendo. Y Fue lo que hizo con Colombia. Amenazó con las tarifas, Colombia dio media vuelta, aceptó las cosas. Ok, mejoraron tal vez un poco las condiciones que estaban mandando los deportados, pero es amenaza, es chantaje, es Trump.
Winning and keep doing well, we won't be the pot of gold, and then tariffs won't be so good for us. But when you're the pot of gold, the tariffs are very good. They're very powerful, and they're going to make our country very rich again. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Bueno, ¿qué podemos decir? Es más de lo mismo con Donald Trump. Y que esté presente Rupert Murdoch, que es como que, más marcada queda la oligarquía actual americana. Trump, Murdoch, Musk. ¿Están solo los millonarios en el poder ahora? ¿Serán ellos el famoso Deep State? Pero es curioso, ¿no? Que el 0,1% de las personas más ricas que viven en Estados Unidos, medio que todos están juntitos como amigos. Es muy curioso, deja mucho que pensar. Y bueno, Donald Trump dijo más de lo mismo. Dejó claro que es un bravucón, que amenaza para conseguir lo que quiere, que si no amenazara no lo conseguiría, pero hey, ahí está. Aranceles. Tariffs. Con eso consigue lo que quiere. Ese es el estado actual de la política americana. Hasta la próxima, chao, chao.